Get ready for another episode of Good Life Discovery with your host, Bobby Dinyard.
Welcome to Good Life Discovery. I'm your host, Bobby Dinyard. Now, today's show is going to be very appealing to several types of different individuals. Number one, if you're an entrepreneur in the United States who wants to sell their business, listen attentively. Now, you may be a resident of the U.S. and want to buy a business. This show is for you as well. Or you may be living outside the United States and had a lifelong dream to immigrate to the U.S. So listen attentively because our guest is extremely well qualified to give you some information. He's a lifelong entrepreneur and immigrant who relocated to the United States from Ireland 30 years ago. He's very passionate about helping people to succeed in life and also in business. And he obviously believes in the American dream because he became very successful there. He's also a believer that it is your right as an individual to be prosperous. So from beautiful Sarasota, Florida, it's my pleasure to welcome the president and CEO of businessbrokerworld.com, Mr. Denis J. Burke. Welcome, Denis.
Thank you, Bobby, for having me on the show.
Well, I'm delighted because this is a different show. It's an exciting show because we're all entrepreneurs at heart, aren't we?
Definitely, indeed, yes.
Yeah.
I think the entrepreneurial spirit is still live and kicking here in America, and I want to share the amazement, magic, and power of it all with more people.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, let's get right into it. I've heard the term business broker before, Denis, and I frame it a certain way. Let's get clarity. What is it that you do as a business broker, or what do business brokers do, and how do you do it differently?
Business brokers, Bobby, essentially provide solutions for sellers and buyers. They act in an intermediary capacity, as in, providing the insight, the information for both parties, buyer and seller in this case. We manage the entire process from initial contract all the way down to the closing table. And really, we're in the middle. We're kind of like the orchestra leader in a band, but at the same time, we're mediating the entire process, mitigating frustrations that buyer and seller feel, fears that they feel, and a whole load of other emotions that both sellers and buyers go through during this entire process.
I like that. You're orchestrating the process. Hey, listen, I'm going to be the devil's advocate here because I'm sure some of the viewers are thinking along the lines I'm thinking. Let's play the what-if game for a second, or for a minute or two. I'm an entrepreneur, and let's just say I have a restaurant for sale, and I say to myself, hey, I'm going to put a classified ad. I'll put a sign on the at the front of my restaurant saying that my business is for sale. What's your view on that approach?
Well, Bobby, people who want to sell their businesses, believe it or not, sometimes do that or come close to doing that. They run ads in Craigslist. They run ads in various publications. And so the drawback to that is that they expose their intentions to sell their business, which can have a dramatically negative impact upon them. For first reason is that they may have key employees that would discover that the business was for sale and want to leave for fear that they might lose their job, may go to a competitor. Additionally, an established business probably has some really long-time customers, maybe big accounts, and if they discover the company is for sale, they may also want to go and get bids from other competitors, or may decide to discontinue doing business with you entirely and go to other sources of service. Obviously, being a business broker, one of the great advantages we provide is confidentiality is paramount. And in the state of Florida, where we're based, licensing is required by the state, which involves intensive study, a state exam. And part of that is that we have a fiduciary responsibility to our clients, A, in the area of confidentiality, and B, to pre-qualify and pre-screen prospective buyers as far as their available funds, because too often sellers become disgruntled when buyers don't give accurate information, particularly to do with their finances, and it ends up being a huge waste of time.
So I hear you. I hadn't thought of that. So for me to advertise, I'm selling my business. Yeah, tremendous risk in truth. So let's talk about someone who wants to buy a business, and why would they want to actually go to Denis J. Burke at businessbrokerworld.com?
Well, business brokerage is a business that's not widespread and well known. In other words, what business brokers do. For example, in the state of Florida, we only have somewhere in the range of about 2,000 business brokers in the whole state, if even that. And one of the values to a buyer for them when they want to purchase a business is to give them very founded information and give them good education, because truly they may be the greatest executive in a large corporation. They may have high level education and qualifications, but when it comes to buying a business, business brokers know that there's a rigorous process and procedure to going from contract to closing, and it's very involved and complex. It involves the understanding of finance, marketing, accounting, a whole host of other functions. And if you don't know that process, you put yourself at a disadvantage as a buyer, and you may end up paying too much for the business. You may end up being lied to by the seller about the business. There may be many different factors that cause you pain in the future after you've closed the sale of that business. And so what a business broker can do is they can guide and direct you in an honest and decent way, so that you get to understand exactly what you're signing up for, and they can facilitate every step of the way to mitigate, again, your fears, your emotions, your concerns, and address those. And just like you'd hire an attorney to go into a court of law to protect your interests, why wouldn't a buyer of a business want to have a representation in the form of a business broker when they're taking such an important step in their life, buying a business?
So, wow, there's a lot there, obviously, that the average person doesn't think about. And again, as a business broker, would it be accurate for me to say that you basically, if you represent a business that's for sale, you're scrubbing it clean? In other words, you've done all the due diligence, and the buyer only has to agree to say, well, this is the kind of business I want. I'm willing to pay the asking price. You basically take all the worries out of their mind?
Well, no, not at all.
No?
Exactly. Basically, the responsibility of the business broker or agent is to do everything they can to get quality businesses. But really and truly, the seller's information provided to the broker is what's relied upon, because we are not licensed accountants. We are not high-level auditors. And so whatever we receive within reason that we believe is truthful and accurate, yes, we go with that. But we do have a disclaimer, and basically it is the responsibility of each buyer to conduct their own due diligence. And the broker is not an opinion maker of the correctness, accuracy, or whether or not the buyer will be successful in the case of buying any particular one business. Again, you have to bear in mind, we're a little bit like a matchmaking outfit. We put qualified buyers together with motivated sellers. And when harmony is in place, the deal happens.
So you set up the date. You're not responsible for the outcome of the date, right?
Right.
The matchmaker. Well, that's good.
We do the courting of the seller to get the listing, and we build trusting relationship with the seller, and it's always a solid foundation and trust, and it's a belief on both sides that we have the best intentions for each other. That means the seller and the broker. And on the flip side of that, our goal is to build honest and trusting relationships with the buyer and educate them in the process, because believe it or not, probably only about 35% of people who buy businesses are repeat buyers or have owned a business in the past. That means 65% of people who want to buy a business, it happens to be a bucket list item from their life, and it's something they want to do as part of their journey in life. And our role is to provide the best possible insight and education for them. Therefore, I'm on here on your show and do a whole lot of other public videos and presentations so that we can educate the general public about their options and what it is that they should expect.
Well, that's the key word. I think you facilitate and you educate the potential buyer, and bottom line, the onus of responsibility is on them at the end of the day, right? Let's talk about the type of different businesses that you may represent as a business broker? I mean, or do you work within a niche market?
Well, basically, the industry as a whole is pretty broad, and most people in the industry tend to be more a general practitioner of business brokerage, which means they take anything and every kind of business that they can get their hands on or get a listing on. Whereas at Business Broker World, we're very uniquely different. I believe that it takes a niche to get rich, so you need to focus on certain categories of business. And so again, at Business Broker World, restaurants, bars, cafes, the entire food and beverage sector is a niche that we offer our clients. Automotive is another niche. Anything and everything you can imagine to do with an automobile, from oil change to tires. Anything and everything you could imagine in senior care, in child care, anything and everything you could imagine in pet care, from pet grooming shop to pet hospital to pet resort. And of course, there are several other areas, like wellness and beauty is another category that we offer. And we're working on having experts in each of those areas, people who have life history and background. They're entrepreneurs. That I'm talking about our agent base, and they bring their life and business experience to the table, and then they become the representation we have on the streets, working with buyers and sellers, facilitating them, giving them the best knowledge and expertise.
I've been to your website, and I was looking at the type of businesses, the various business, and I noticed something there that I didn't understand. Some of the business that were for sale or that you represent had E2 part of the tagline. Can you explain what E2 represents?
Okay, so since the late 1990s, the U.S. government has a program called the E2 visa. They also have other visa programs, but specifically the most interest is in the E2 visa, and it enables people from other countries around the world who have their countries, their home countries, have a treaty with the United States, and it enables them bring their families to the United States and become legal residents. Now, an E2 visa is not a green card. Can it lead to a green card? Well, there's all kinds of dialogue and debate about that becoming possible in the future. But generally speaking, an E2 visa allows people, if they buy a business of value, of certain value, and that value can range from maybe as little as $50,000 or $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 to several hundreds of $1,000s. It allows them buy this business or buy a reputable franchise and come to the United States legally, buy a home, buy a car, send their kids to school or university here, and live the same kind of life that anybody else is living here in America. And it's a phenomenal program. The demand is enormous from around the world. Many, many people want to migrate here. Mm-hmm. Of course, one of the challenges is that many of the people that want to move here, they're not familiar with the American business culture and the way things are done in America. They don't necessarily always speak perfect English in the first 3-6 months or longer. And unfortunately, many of them have been taken advantage, lost their entire investments, and had to go back to their home countries. So the purpose of Business Broker World, and also our sister entity, the www.americanvisaconcierge.com, is to accommodate those E2 visa individuals, provide the best guidance and direction we can, help them find the business that they need that will qualify for the E2 visa, and then be available furthermore to provide a whole long list of resources that they will need, from an accountant to a home inspector to a construction developer to build out a store for them or to do renovations for them, on the way down to a tax advisor, on the way to an insurance agent, whatever they need to facilitate their transition between Business Broker World on the business and business consulting side, and American Visa Concierge on the other side of the fence. We have both critical areas covered to accommodate people coming from other countries, and that's essentially where we're at with E2 visa.
All right. So the clarity I got is that it's not a green card. It requires a nominal investment. You were saying starting in the $50,000s. Now, let me ask you this. On an E2, is there an expiration date? Do people need to renew so many years into the process? How does that work?
I have to preface my response by saying that I'm not a licensed immigration attorney, and that my information is strictly based on or working knowledge from just dealing with clients and referring them to immigration attorneys. But an E2 visa can extend from as little as 1 year with options for renewal to all the way up to 5 years or longer. Okay. The qualifying party in some cases, if not in all cases, is required to hire American workers, 2 to 3 people or more. And certain industries lend themselves very nicely to the program, such as the food and beverage industry, restaurants, bars, cafes, because of obviously you have to have multiple employees to run those kinds of businesses. So essentially, that's an overview in a nutshell what E2Vs is all about. But if there are viewers watching and need direction on the E2 visa, I have many different qualified and licensed immigration attorneys that can give them that insight that they need, and we'd be happy to refer the viewers in this case.
Beautiful. You have an entire team. One more question about the E2, because I've been through that process many years ago, and I know things have changed. And how long of a process is it on average, based on your experiences, for someone to immigrate to the U.S. by acquiring a business?
You know, it varies from country to country. Different countries have different treaties with the United States. But I've seen as little as 4-6 weeks all the way to maybe 12 or 16 weeks.
Really?
And I'm sure in some cases it could be longer. There are just variables. One person told me it took 2 weeks.
Wow.
They bought a restaurant. They put $400,000 up for an investment, and they got their visa in 2 weeks. I've had people take as long as 5 and 6 months, but I would say as a general rule of thumb, 8-12 weeks is pretty comfortable.
That's still, I mean, for a person to move to the U.S., I mean, that's encouraging, that's for sure. Well, Denis, let's wrap it up. Let's what are some of the advices, the top advice you can give to the person who wants to sell their business, your top advice to the person who wants to buy a business, and your top advice to the person who would like to immigrate to the U.S.?
The top advice for sellers is consider the business broker your friend. Business brokers can help you more accurately value your business. I have seen sellers sell their business for half what their businesses are worth and leave hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. And week in and week out, we visit with prospective sellers who want to list their business. And once we get into the discussion about their financials and about the opportunity that they're selling to a new buyer, we oftentimes show them that they could sell that business for $100,000, $150,000, $250,000 more than what they're asking. And so for sellers, it would be the valuation. For the buyers, I would like the buyers to understand that the business broker also is a knowledgeable and experienced person that has life experience, entrepreneurial background, and possibly even business formal education. And because of that, they can bring to the table the type of insight a buyer needs to have in order to move effectively through the buying process and to make less or fewer mistakes. To guide them with understanding what they're getting themselves into, what the financial strength, position, or otherwise is of a business, to accommodate the research and the time that a buyer would otherwise waste in figuring out how to find a good business. A business broker can save that kind of time for them. And pretty much that would be how I would direct the buyer. I would say that's the key thing to consider. And for the immigrants coming from Europe, from South America, from Asia, and from Canada and other countries and continents around the world, I would say that as an immigrant myself, I feel the motivation you have. I feel the passion and drive that you have. I know the hurdles that you face. Bobby didn't mention this, but when I came to New York in 1986, I never went home for 6 years. I was an illegal immigrant, and that meant working in a lot of difficult conditions And in fact, it took me 14 years to become a United States citizen from the day I first landed to the day I finally got an American passport. And so I truly am driven passionately to help all immigrants coming to these great shores in order that you can succeed and prosper and you don't have to risk as much by having the right guidance, the right direction, and a real advocate in your corner.
Beautiful. So in other words, when people engage in consulting with Denis J. Burke, you're talking from real life experience. I mean, you've been through it. You understand the emotional traumas that people can go through, but now you know how to help them deal with it and reasonably quickly from what you were telling us today. Now, I see a toll-free number on your site, 844-2-BUY-BIZ. Is that toll-free number for the U.S., North America? Where does that work?
Toll-free number is for within the U.S.
Within the U.S., okay.
To contact me directly internationally, you would dial 001-941-224-3893. Again, that's 001-941-224-3893. Or you can reach me by email, info@businessbrokerworld.com. That's info@businessbrokerworld.com.
And of course, your website is businessbrokerworld.com. Denis, real pleasure. Thank you for these wonderful insights. I am certain that your information is falling on some nice people who are listening in who will need your expertise to facilitate them through their journey. So thank you so much for appearing on Good Life Discovery.
And thank you, Bobby, for having me on your show.
Oh, you're welcome. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Bobby.
All right, well, there you have it, folks. Now, remember to go to businessbrokerworld.com for additional information on what Mr. Denis J. Burke can do for you as an entrepreneur who wants to sell their business, or maybe someone who wants to buy a business, or someone who wants to immigrate to the United States. How wonderful to have that kind of expertise at your fingertip at businessbrokerworld.com. All right, so on to wrap up here. Remember to go to Facebook. Join us, facebook.com/Good Life Discovery, or visit our website at goodlifediscovery.com. And remember this, right? Next time we are a show, let's share your story with the world. I'm Bobby Deanyard for Good Life Discovery. Until next time.